runners out there with the mics for the questions. So I'm going to ask you guys to introduce yourselves and then talk a little bit about what you saw, what you had fun with, maybe a few stories of what you popped.
Hi, my name is Joe Rosner. I did a bunch of the web stuff. If you got hooked with beef, that was probably me. I did the dancing zebra. I was dropping your SQL databases and other fun stuff like that.
Hi, I'm Kaz. I was mostly doing a lot of briefing with a few of you guys. Some of you may have noticed that commands would suddenly stop working, or you could suddenly see someone else's VNC session. or you know, the basic things like throwing up YouTube videos or other audio videos and playing a little bit of chess. Some of the teams were unfortunate enough to find out that all their DNS records were gone on 80 and had been replaced with star and then my IP address. So for quite a bit of the game, everything was being directed towards me. It was fun.
Hey guys, my name is Rafi. I was working on the Linux boxes. Love those NFS shares with root exported. Yeah, those are pretty sweet. Backdooring the Linux boxes, it's great to get text passwords. And then the CCDC virus repo. That was awesome.
My name is Joe Luna. I captain the red team. I don't do much besides get yelled at by the black and the white team. And yeah, so I just try and keep these guys in check and let them do their thing.
Hi, I'm Don from the black team. I couldn't remember Rupert Cunningham, so I just stuck to Don. Did anybody actually fall for that one? I'll have to pick a name like Rupert Cunningham. Actually, I'm Gino. I was the network manager for the red team. I was also the telephone operator.
Network manager for most of the blue team as well.
Honorary black team member.
Hi, I'm Michael McGrew. I was having lots of fun on the virus repo. I loved pivoting from the virus repo onto the SQL databases and dumping those for you guys. I found that I really liked when I dumped one of the databases and then you guys brought the virus repo back, but you brought it back without PHP. I thought that was good that you guys learned that that's how we're actually getting in with the PHP shell. I think that was Berkeley that brought it back without PHP installed. And I thought that was something pretty cool to actually not just not choose to bring it back, but bring it back and actually do something different.
My name is Carl, and I am the reason your domain controller loves you. And if you saw a smiling troll face, it was mine. Oh yeah, and the assault by like crazy bro step and lots of puppy music was my fault.
My name's Alex. I didn't really do much. I was pretty lazy. I basically went after your SQL databases first and foremost. I really like those. That it keeps me up. It's kind of my caffeine.
Would you not play Minecraft?
Yeah. If you saw Minecraft, I was deploying it to a few of your servers, a few of your boxes as a server, so we could play it. Also, if you guys caught each other attacking each other, that was me. There were SQL rules allowing root login, no password to your databases from other teams. So I made sure to take advantage of that. Other than that, just wrote some code for the red team up here and kind of supported them with some shell food when I needed it.
Michael Carlson. I also pushed a couple of Minecraft servers and Doom servers on your boxes, and Counter-Strike, and just general game servers. I also captured the credentials for one of your Scorebot accounts, so I'm kind of in trouble for that. So,
My name is Sean. My primary responsibility on the red team is to create tools for Windows that basically bypass all the fun little tools that help you not have bad software on your system. I wrote a bunch of things to do AV bypass, and if you found your system blue screening for some reason, that wasn't Windows, that was me. It needed to do that because I needed to be on your system. And it turns out my research for the competition was very fruitful. Unfortunately, it was, thank you very much for the research. I appreciate it, guys. Yeah.
Hi, my name's Moss. I was the one feeding bad acid to your Raspberry Pi servers. I really want to thank the Berkeley team for putting their passwords on their shirt. Hanging out in domain controllers.
I'm Jason. I primarily spawned shells and pulled out your passwords. Again, Berkeley, thank you for typing them in. Quite a few times. I was keylogging all of your domain controller Windows boxes. Thank you. So basically, I just kept spawning shells throughout the day, getting persistence on your systems. And again, sorry about your domain controllers. I really didn't mean to drop them those 2 times, but accidents happen.
We had a question time.
They didn't. I also accidentally broke SMB on most of the boxes. Again, apologies.
I'm Sean. I spent a lot of time on your virus repo, and if you happen to wake up, this morning and find out your virus repo box had been chime out at 7:07 from the root directory on out, I'm sorry. I just got pissed off trying to do it the right way, so I just made everything convertible so I could just screw it that way. So sorry, but it made my life easier.
Hi everybody, my name is Raphael, and I did the role of what I call Shell Sherpa, meaning my job is to take shells, give them a home, and protect them. So I was installing the persistence on your Windows systems, and those of you with creative routing, not allowing us to talk to you in this network, well, we talk to each other in the cloud, kind of like a heavenly thing.
The internet!
We were also pulling passwords like this 152 sniff coded, and passwords are hard 2013, all kinds of things. Using those to PS executive things like, you know, those more modern Windows systems. So lots of fun.
So what I'm going to do, first I'm going to ask them one question, and then we're going to open it up for you guys to ask questions. So be prepared, because I'm going to prompt you for stuff, I'm going to be poking you. This is an opportunity we've got for as long as you guys have questions to ask them. But the first one I want to ask of you guys, and I know I heard it from a couple of you today, did any of you have some recommendations what the teams should have done to help defend themselves?
Why is MSO 8067 on your boxes?
On your domain. Why is it still on your boxes as of 4 o'clock today?
Why do you have default credentials pretty much the whole time?
Why aren't you changing passwords after you notice your box got popped?
Yeah, I know it probably sounds a little aggressive, but I mean, it's MSO 8067, many of you may not understand, is just one of those super old, super reliable exploits. It's just like, oh, okay, that gives me a shell, just immediately, and it's very popular because it's very easy. I mean, it just gets you in, and it's very easy to fix. You just update. It's a 6-year-old exploit now, actually, and it's pretty nasty. It causes your RPC. This is actually a really funny story. So Cause was trying to log into somebody's servers, and he got the password right, but then he kind of poked me. He's like, I don't know what's going on, but it's taken forever. And when you log in, it just tells you that the RPC or that the RPC service is gone. So what happens when you exploit MSO 8067 is that it just kills the RPC service and says, sorry, you got to reboot. So in stomping over a bunch of people's stuff, just everybody exploiting things left and right, we wound up just stomping on top of each other by accident, and that was just kind of one of those moments.
So every once in a while, take a look at your processes. If you see 25 notepad.exe's running and no windows open for notepad.exe, it might be an indication that something's wrong and you maybe need to kill those notepads.
We hit 37, 37 on one system. That's an example of stepping on each other.
I sat in Notepad, and so I'm just going to give you some quick shell advice. The second you sit down at a Linux system, you should grep every authorized keys file for every user. You should also check to see what processes are running. If SSH is running with a user from an IP address that isn't your subnet, that's not good. Check your sudoers file. There are things that I did, several things, that was in absolutely no way a piece of malware that allowed me to continuously continue to get back into your systems over and over and over again. I pivoted through your pies all day. SSH tunneling is not a problem, and simply just being a good sysadmin and having good operations hygiene would have kept me from doing anything to you guys.
Yeah, Alex covered something. I wanted to touch on it, especially with the Linux boxes. It's really easy just to open up a terminal and type top, and then just leave that terminal open and just watch for any processes that kind of pop up suddenly and are at 100% and they're being run by the HTTP user. Yeah.
When you see the issue, MOTD, and issue.net banners change on your computer, you should probably immediately unplug it, because it pops up like every time you switch TTYs. So when it says Red Team was here, you probably want to take that machine offline and change the password.
GPOs are bidirectional. So if one of them is owned and, because somebody, MS0867, your domain controller, which was exposed to the entire flat network, and then you patch it because you catch that it's being caught, don't push the same GPO to your other boxes because it's still owned, and it will unpatch said box. That way we can log back into it. GPOs are bidirectional. Once you get one that works, remove all of them and push that one to all of your boxes. And don't push it from an owned domain controller, because otherwise it will push the passwords and the local admin hashes with it.
If your Cisco device is sending your configs to the Red Team every 10 minutes, you might want to think about turning that off.
All right, one thing, this is very important, I think, and I've seen this at a lot of events. Don't reuse passwords under any circumstances, okay? Always assume that in a worst case scenario, if Red Team's got a box, we are going to either through key logging, Windows Credential Editor, or you storing a config for your router with very weak encryption in your desktop, we are going to get your password, okay? And that is how the low-hanging fruit beyond MS0867, that's how we got into boxes. Default credentials. So definitely pay attention to that.
MySQL keeps a history file. So when you pass your MySQL password in the command line to MySQL, it saves in the history file. So don't do that. Because we can find that history file, then we have your MySQL password. Host-based firewalls are really helpful when you don't have an actual firewall or a router protecting you from us. So set up your host-based firewalls. Sandbox should never, ever be accessible to the internet, ever. It's just bad. Again.
One last thing. There's a lot of systems that require password complexity, like you have to use a letter and a number. ABCD 1, 2, 3, 4 is not good password complexity.
Speaking of passwords and following up on Sean's comment about MySQL, not setting a password for root is not a good countermeasure for not having it show up in the password history.
Also for MySQL, there's a really awesome column called host. You should probably not have that be anything other than localhost. And it's just kind of nice being able to connect from anywhere.
Specifically other team subnets?
Yeah, that too.
Or anywhere. So when you notice that you guys' boxes get owned, it's bad. You obviously want to stop us, but don't freak out about it, because if I immediately get unplugged and I see it come back up 5 minutes after and I notice that you did not fix the issue, probably means that you unplugged the box before you actually had a chance to figure out what was wrong with it. If you're fighting in the GUI, switch over to one of the TTYs by Control F1, run top, Alt F1, see what's happening on the box before you actually gather some evidence so you can decide what actions to take before you bring it back up. Don't freak out and throw the laptop on the ground.
gathering more evidence will help you in your IRT reports. So yeah, pulling the plug really doesn't help you. White team doesn't like to hear, oh, we got owned. You need a little more information than that. So survey the situation, try to find out where the attack's coming from, what happened.
Please don't be afraid of using open source tools. Pretty much every single box that I popped, the first thing I did is backdoor your task manager. So when your box started running slower and you load a task manager to find out if I was on a shell, which you eventually killed, you started another shell. There are things like ProcessMon and other very simple tools that, like, if you look for hardened host intrusion tools on Google, like the first 5 pages of links all work, and they're all unique, and because they're not standard, they're not usually backdoored, they're easy to sign. Use them. Like, you don't just rely on what your OS gives you and assume that if your OS doesn't tell you it's a problem, it's not a problem. Also, there are many ways to hide inside a system that do not require a process line. So if you're owned and then you delete a process and you notice that your system resources go back to normal, do not assume we are not still in there. Reboot the box.
Just to touch on unplugging the box as soon as you realize it's been compromised, there's a good chance that if that comes back up again real soon and the red team member finds out that it came back up, they're going to be really upset that you unplug them and take more drastic measures in order to kick you out in order to stay on that machine. So just kind of hang out there and figure out how to get them out and make sure they can't get in, and yeah, just do IR the way it's supposed to be done.
And play chess.
I want to talk about IR for a minute. There are things on your boxes called logs. I did not try to hide in the. I did. Yeah. As far as my activity went, I didn't sanitize a log. I didn't clear a log of my IP address. I didn't clear your Apache logs when I was uploading PHP shells. I do operations in my daily job, and I can tell you one of the single most beneficial things you can be doing is watching your logs. If you see a log and you see post request to 404.php returning 200, that's not good. Yes. If you see logins from the same IP address that dropped to your table 4 hours ago to root, that's not good. You guys had an inject where you had to put up your top 5 attackers page. I didn't see my IP anywhere. That's not good either. Check your logs, learn some bash foo, and learn how to count those and find things in your logs. You can very easily background a little grep tool that is, you know, I don't know, maybe printing to another file or something like that. When it finds something in the log, make sure you're watching that. Having operational awareness and knowing the difference between what you think is running and what you know is running is going to be the key between actually, you know, thinking you're secure and actually being secure.
Another thing on credentials, make sure whenever you reset credentials on a web like forum, such as BugTrack, that you actually kill all active sessions, because I got an active session at the beginning of the con that is still active at the end of today, just because you didn't do that. So.
A little suggestion: do not put your school's name in your logon banner. You really don't know what schools members of the Red Team might have gone to or perhaps gotten kicked out of. So do not put your school's name in the banner. Do not put some other school's name in the banner, because that same Red Team member might have got kicked out of there too. And you don't want to be the collateral damage.
I guess that's one thing. One of the things I would recommend, just from a strategic standpoint for the competition, poking the bear is usually a bad idea because it's a bear. There was one team member who I was convinced was trying to social engineer me out of some of the software, the code I've written for like malware and stuff like that, and I just thought it was really funny, and it made me just want to like hit him harder. I mean, it's do not taunt Happy Fun Ball. It is not a good idea.
Watch out for rats. RAT, remote administration tools. A bunch of your boxes had VNC on it, so we're able to watch as you guys were attempting to administer your VMware as we dropped it. Watch you spawn your session back up and drop it. And then drop the box, just for fun.
If you happen to be installing something over, happen to be setting a password on Windows or on Linux, and you keep typing in the password, and you know it's the right password, but you just can't log in, it means one of us is screwing with you, using over VNC and hitting a character every time you go into the password field. Okay, that's what that means. You're not typing it in wrong 4 times, okay?
It took me forever to get their passwords when you're doing that.
Yeah, it kind of did. That's funny. Anyone else?
This is a little bit less technical. Keep trying, practice. You guys all, I thought, did really well here. You guys put your best effort forward. You guys all stayed till the end and were really good sports about it. We're all here because this is our community, as Josh said, and, you know, do what you do and get better at it. I expect to see many of you here next year, and I will not have sympathy. You know, I want to see improvement. We spend the rest of the year trying to be better as well, you know, and I think that all of us collectively make each other better. You know, having this chance to be a Red Team member makes me better, thanks to you guys, and I think vice versa. I'm appreciative of this opportunity, and I think that, you know, don't quit practicing. You know, CCDC's not, oh, it's in a week, let's spin up a VM and try this. You have 363 days. Go.
Yeah, watch your browsers. There's like really cool things in Chrome called development tools, and there's an awesome thing called the network tab. You can kind of see some traffic going by in there. If your passwords are going through in there, or extensions, like these are all things that are like really, really, yeah, those too. Logged into the scoreboard. Like with all the power happening in browsers now, I mean, like persistence isn't that hard, and it's a really, really easy way to back channel like sensitive information that we can just use to do awesome things.
All right, yeah, I just wanted to wrap up and touch on what Alex said. We are all, like he said, kind of community. We all hang out and talk to each other and learn from each other. You guys should do the same. We're all scattered up and down the West Coast, and we go all over to conferences and whatever. If anybody's around where we live, if like you have questions and you want to meet up with us, or you want to email us about, you know, hey, how the hell did you break into my box, or, you know, what can I do later, email us. Like, we're totally cool with that. It's fun. We'd love to tell you how you got owned. It's awesome. Yeah, CCDC on Frito.net. Whatever, words, the internet. Yeah. Find us on the internet.
Splunk and Tripwire are your friends. You should learn them. And for those of you who think Splunk costs money, Splunk has a free license. The free license will work for 500 megs. You can restart it indefinitely. Hint, hint.
So at this point, I want to open it up for all of you. Do you have questions for them? So we got, start with the one right back there. We've got mic runners.
Is it working? Yep.
There you go.
So one of the things that we keep fearing is that you keep changing your IP address. Is that a legitimate fear, or are you not really changing this?
Here's the thing. I didn't change my IP address because I didn't have to. I will change my IP address if I have to. Keep in mind, that might get me more frustrated. I tend to be a little bit meaner the more frustrated I get.
Yeah, in general, a moving IP address is not a barrier. Just never assume that, like, in the real world, you cannot block a threat based on location, because I'll just own the location if I have to.
Green. All right, I was wondering about the blue screen exploit. I never seen that, so I was curious about that.
I'm sorry. Say that fully.
The blue
one more
screen
time.
exploit.
Right. What about it?
I was just curious about it. Anything else?
If
Tell me.
this is great. This is like, you have to understand the reason that I love doing reverse engineering and love Windows is because Windows is just a giant chaotic pile of nonsense, and I love it because for some reason I just like getting angry. And I just have so much fun with it, just staring at all these really nasty things. And so anyway, the blue screen exploit, when you run as administrator and then enumerate all processes and then kill all processes, Windows doesn't know what the hell to do. So it's just like, blue screen, you're done, dude. I'm just going to reboot. Okay, and now to expand on that research I was talking about. So last year, using the research I had done at work, I created a rootkit for Windows that was a little bit more than a rootkit because it was surprisingly a rootkit, and so I expanded on it this year. Turns out it really is a rootkit because I found out that in the middle of the competition, after these guys had run my rootkit on everybody's systems, that when it launched and called back, I couldn't execute commands. Now, if you know anything about Windows, this might shock you. For those who don't, let me explain like what the issue is. In the kernel, you can't run a process if you're in the kernel because you need to be in a user context, and that's why there's a system account and there's an administrator account and then there's a user account. Turns out that the very first thing that calls back when it boots up is the kernel. So I was trying to execute processes in the kernel. So it turns out I didn't know how good it was, so I couldn't control your boxes. You were completely rooted, and like I had these systems all throughout the game. Even when Berkeley decided to nat up, and no, that still calls out to the internet, guys. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. It wasn't Berkeley that did it. It was Team 7 that natted up. Yeah, like I was able to change the IP with a single shell script. It was great. So I was planning on just passing a CNC to everybody, just being like, "Hey, you get to be the CNC now, yay!" But yeah, that's pretty much what the blue screen was. It wasn't anything fancy. I kind of wish it was something fancy, but at the same time, it's really funny that that's how you can blue screen the system. Just write a script like, "Okay, give me all the processes I can open as administrator. Now kill them." Blue screen, yay!
So somebody decided to destroy the RAID on our UCS server. I just wanted to know who it was and if they did anything else.
No one's claiming credit.
We're pretty certain it wasn't us.
Well, it may not have been us either, man. Oh, okay, someone's taking credit now.
There are a lot of teams who like saw one blip of maybe somebody doing recon or maybe something that wasn't us at all, freaked out and yanked their router and then was down for like however long it took Black Team to do absolutely nothing to their config, reload it, and then give them a box back. False positives are a thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, you should definitely freak out if something's happening that you don't understand, but don't freak out over everything. Like, Google it first.
I just want to add something to that answer. If your router reboots when you try to console in, that's not a false positive.
I heard from several teams, and I don't know the specifics of this because, we all saw different sides of it, but several of you had a situation where, like I think it was with your ESX box, like you had 2 hard drives that had like the same ID. You know what I'm talking about? That may have been you guys who just brought that up. Maybe that's what happened to you and prevented you from getting started up. When you get like really stuck and you just don't know what to do next, go talk to the Black Team or relay through your judges, because this is a competition, but we are here to have an environment where you have an opportunity to learn. So if you're just stuck, seek help. And if it's something that's in your control, they'll kind of back off and maybe point you in the right direction, or let you be frustrated for a while. But that's how it is. We didn't, sounds like since nobody's claiming ownership of that, we didn't do that to you. Was it you?
As a general rule, the Red Team tries not to be too disruptive until the last hour or so of the competition.
With the exception of databases.
Yeah, I mean,
because of the specific reasons.
if we go ahead and kill everything and just nuke the environment day one, there's no more competition. I mean, we have nothing to attack if we just stomp on everything. So we really hold off. Sometimes mistakes happen. A rootkit might backfire or command blows up, but we're not intentionally nuking everything until the last day. Then it's all on.
With regards to the UCS box, I don't know if you guys did it or not. Basically what would happen is it would boot into ESXi. ESXi would say, there are 2 hard drives with the exact same UUID. Ensure that you don't have multiple installations. Okay, so I probably solved it the worst way possible. I basically looked at it, it's like, okay, they're the same UUID. Unplugged one drive, rebooted, it was fine.
No, that's actually good. That might have been me if that was your problem. So there were VMs on the ESXs that weren't booted. So occasionally when I would get tired of fighting over a box, I'd boot up one of the ones that like nobody apparently had noticed was there and use it. But because when Black Team made those boxes, they were all DDs of existing clones for a bunch of the systems, the UIDs are the same on the hard drives. So when you boot 2 hard drives with the same UUID in ESX, and the resource manager from the administrative console goes to query one and then allocate resources from the other, it crashes.
So yeah, that might have been him.
Yeah.
I just noticed that before we went on the lunch break on day 1 that our switches, or at least my team did, went into a constant freeze. And when we came back, it was still frozen. I'd like to know how you guys did that and what can be done to prevent it.
First off, I don't think I had anything to do with the constant freeze, other than to freeze you out. So to start with the answer for that question, I think a few people have been waiting for me to answer that particular question for a couple of years now. Let's start with this question to you. When did you get your firewall? No, you didn't get it at 2 or 3 p.m. today. You got it on the first day. You were given a router, a switch, and an access point, and you really didn't need the router. It wasn't routing anything. It was just being used for the call manager. Now, when I first started working on this competition, when I was first invited, I was actually a white team member. And I actually complained about the poor treatment that the blue teams got. I was new. I didn't realize that this was really an exercise in masochism. So I actually filed a complaint with the white team. Has anybody here ever filed a complaint with the white team? Has anybody actually gotten a favorable response from the white team to your complaint? No, it's a waste of time. But so what they pointed out at the time when I sat there and whined and complained that you didn't get a firewall and you didn't have the slightest ghost of a chance, they sat there and said, well, we gave you a firewall, we gave you a router, and you could do ACLs. So the whole song and dance with the routers, with the access points, with the firewall, with the switches, is solely to prevent you from taking that router and using it as a firewall. Now, how do I keep you from making effective use of that device? I have to lock you out. So with a Cisco device, that's really hard to do. There's a feature called password recovery, and to use it, you have to be able to console into the device. Now, this is a suggestion I would make to every team here. Learn how to do a password recovery. Well, it's tough to do with your console port turned off, but you really can't turn off a console port. So the best we could possibly do is actually have your box reboot when you try to use the console port. So in a few cases, it was actually kind of interesting because I actually used an automated script to go lock everybody out of their console ports. And because this was an automated script made before the competition, I did not have your configurations. I have the exact same network diagram that's on the web page that everybody else saw. So I really had no idea what they were going to give you. So there's a few things I could do, there's a few things I couldn't do, and then there's a few teams that actually threw a wild card at me, which is they had already turned off Telnet to their devices before I ever got in. So when I got in and took out the console port, we just basically built a whole bunch of doorstops. So literally, I couldn't get in through Telnet. The teams couldn't get in through Telnet. Nobody can get in through the console. And there's a few other ways to duck in. But at the time, you got 3 devices, 13 teams. That's 39 devices to go through. So I was just a little swamped at the time. There's just, too many targets and not enough time. So that's pretty much how that little game gets played.
I'm sorry, I forgot your name. I want to know what your IP is. Or was. .86? All right.
I believe it was 10.129.44.86. I saw it somewhere.
Yeah, we saw that.
Here I come.
Back here. All right, so I have a question. All right, so you guys, what I heard throughout the competition, you guys had some interactions with some of the blue teams. Who would you say gets the most style points for their interaction with you? Because there were a couple exploits I heard about, so.
Now? Oh, there you go. Yeah, so this is actually I'm going to award double points to this team because they got me twice. The first one was I hopped on VNC, view-only mode, having fun with them. Every time they typed a command into a terminal, I would chmod, remove the executable permission on that command, and then I would re-enable it right before they put it in again to mess with them. Eventually, I was having a little fun. They were kind of looking up funny queries online about Linux and how to do some things, and I thought it would be fun to send them the YouTube video of how you know your son is a hacker. And you probably heard some of that. We played it over the speakers, from their machine and over the loudspeakers. And basically it goes in like, how do you know if your son is using or interested in the operating system known as Linux? Linux. So after that, it was kind of a given that I was on the box, and he decided to start typing in the console a little bit, and every once in a while he'd be like, "Oh, come at me, bro!" And as he was typing, I would kill his terminal session. And it escalated a little bit more, and eventually there may have been some cursing involved. In fact, along with the key logging, I set up a X screensaver, or whatever the screensaver was, got you the password, which was very aptly named towards us. It was a very, very nice language, and a very awesome password, yeah. We do love you. So it turned into a game of chess, like literally. GL chess was pulled up, and I decided that, why play one game of chess? I'll just do a while true open GL chess. Would you like to play a game? So a little bit later, I found that same team had pulled up a 2012 server, and one of the shares provided on that server was a printer share, and the printer share name was "Come at me, bro." So of course I had to respond. So I sent them "Sup, dog," and they respond back. What did they respond back? Something like, "Oh, nothing, So I responded back, "What you thinking about?" or whatever. And they respond back, "Only you." So I gave them, then they responded back, "Where's dog or Horsehead?" So I sent them Pink Unicorn Man. And then I ended, I'm sorry. When I say I sent them back, I mean I printed images to their printer, and then they changed it. And then they changed the name. So it was a fun dialogue going there.
Do any of you know how big a TCP header is? At least one person should have their hand up right now. We asked you this question over the phone. I know you know.
Wow.
All right. Well, there was one team in here who, we got into pretty much knockdown, drag-out fights over 2 domain controllers. Whoever was on 13 and whoever was on 10. And whoever was on 10, after 12 and 13. After the long and knockdown drag-out battle that was 13, we really didn't want to go through that again on 12. So we decided to call you, and we asked you a question, and we told you if you got it right, we would give you your domain controller back, and if you got it wrong, we would nuke it. You got it wrong.
I'd like to point out one thing, and you've probably heard this, and probably got this from most of the guys here. If you leave a comment for us, if you leave a message for us, normally we're fairly even-handed people. We try to ruin the lives of everybody. But if you leave a comment for us, we will single you out. And I want you to remember there's, 8 of you, and there's more of us. So you might want to think twice about that. Normally we just go after everybody, but if you